Welcome to Kentucky Horsepower, the official podcast of the Kentucky Automobile Dealers Association. Hey, hi everyone. This is Jason with KADA, and joining me is Brad Miller of ComplyAuto. ComplyAuto has been a longtime partner of KADA now. Well, when I say long time, I say the last few years anyways. We've done a lot of things together, taken on a lot of initiatives, because there's been a few things going on in our industry over the last couple of years. What do you say, Brad?
Sure have. Yeah, there's been a little activity. So you and I have been around here for a while, and I think it's fair to say there's been a flurry.
Yes, to say the least. And for those of you who are listening, many of you are already using ComplyAuto in some shape, form, or fashion, and have been doing so really for a few years now. And so we're excited to have Brad today. Brad, what are we talking about today? What are we going to educate our folks on? Because you guys always have something new coming up as we're moving forward with things in this space, as compliance continues to be a huge hot button issue. So tell us what you have shaken.
Yeah, look, there's a lot going on, but I think the sort of the big issue of the day is price advertising and the FTC's recent activity. And I say this for those of you, most of you hopefully out there in podcast land, I know already, but if you don't know, I was at NADA for many years and dealt with the FTC and federal advertising issues for a long time.
Yep.
And I do have to think, for whatever reason, there's been an increased focus both at the state and federal level on advertising. And of course, what happened last month was that the FTC dropped a bit of a bomb on the industry.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. It certainly it certainly has gotten the dealer's attention. I think there's something to that, and I think it's, I'm hopeful, I'm optimistic that at the end of the day this could be a good thing.
Yep.
But of course the transition is always the tough part. So the FTC, I will tell you this. When I talk on this issue, I always say, look, this didn't come out of nowhere.
Right.
The FTC for years has been saying. We knew that they tried with the cars rule, it got shot down.
Yep.
They passed something called the junk fee rule. They call it drip pricing. They called it all these different, derogatory names of the things that people were doing. And it all had to do with advertising a price that a person couldn't walk in and pay for, right? If you're a hotel and they advertise the hotel for $199 a night and you walk out and your bill's $325 because of the resort fee and the other fees, they're like, that's not fair. That's deceptive. Consumers don't like that. Guess what they get? Complaints. They get a lot of complaints about this, and they react to complaints, right? That's really true. Consumers don't like the fact. I remember being in a meeting once with a regulator themselves who it was about a completely different topic, and they wanted to spend 20 minutes telling their own personal horror story about supposedly being deceived by a dealer in terms of price advertising. So I think this is a bit of a bipartisan issue. People are a little surprised the Trump administration took this aggressive a position, but it's not too surprising. I've been in a lot of states, blue and red, and I have to say that unhappiness with some dealer pricing practices is just a bipartisan issue. So the FTC launched this letter. They sent letters to 97 dealer groups, and they really kind of sent this shockwave across the industry. And it really has to do with price advertising, and we can get into the details on that.
Yep, makes total sense. And look, to your point, Brad, this has been ongoing discussions for years as it relates to, and I think that's well put. This is a bipartisan dissatisfaction issue as it relates to some of the pricing practices by some of the dealers. Yeah. And unfortunately, everybody gets painted with the same broad brush.
And look, I'm very sympathetic because you look at these. Oh, I have a slide I put together when I talk about this, and it's lists just in the last sort of 2-3 years how many state enforcement actions have been brought against dealers for large dollar figures. And it's too bad because you look at these complaints and you look at the ads that they're talking about, they often are not that far outside the quote unquote norm, right? And I think what happens is, they get a complaint from someone about a particular dealership, usually about what happens in the F&I office. What can they do without sending a CID, which is like a big subpoena? They can go look at your website, right? Look at your ads. And so it's a very easy way for them sitting in DC or in the state capitol or wherever they are to just go and find someone that they want to put under the microscope. And look, I always make sure to point out that all of these cases are settlements. No one has ever been found guilty by a court of competent jurisdiction, but when they come at you with the force of the government, it's there's not much you can do. It's
Now
tough.
I can feel it.
So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, they've come after a lot of dealers doing this stuff. They're even taking it, I always hesitate because we are very careful at ComplyAuto. We do not, we make good products and services that help dealers comply with the law. We don't sell by trying to scare people.
Sure.
I don't want to scare people. I don't like talking about fines, and fines in this area is actually a very complicated area. But suffice it to say, they are very aggressive in terms of monetary damages that they seek. They're also seeking personal liability.
Yeah.
They are routinely suing not just the dealership but individuals, the dealer principals, the GMs, the sales managers, F&I managers. And so, yeah, look, it's real, and you don't want to be caught in the crosshairs of this. And so, I think dealers have they've woken up, and and now their attention is focused. And the next question is, well, what do I do? Right.
Right.
So I can help. So let's do
Yeah, Brad, let's just dive into it. That's
that.
a great segue. So what do I do? What are the steps, and what can our great partner here, ComplyAuto, what are the latest tools that are available to our dealers that help them through this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very proud to say we have a product that not only was available because we had not, we'd seen this coming, and we'd seen this as a risk for dealers, and we had this product, and we've now just rolled out the version 2.0, which is has all the latest from the FTC and everything else, and we're very much on top of this. It's been very popular. So we do have a software solution that helps you that I can talk about in a minute, but let's take it a little bit to what the FTC said.
Sure.
They've always said certain things are deceptive, certain things are unfair. Like, there have been enforcement actions over the years against dealers. The bombshell they really dropped here is that they're saying it's illegal if you advertise a price of a vehicle that doesn't include everything that any consumer could walk in the dealership and pay out the door, right? So if the car is advertised for $50,000, any person in the country needs to be able to walk into your dealership, give you a check for $50,000 plus taxes, title, and registration, and walk out the door with that car. That means that fees, including dock fees and any other
Yep.
fees and transportation costs on new cars and everything else, has to be in that advertised price, right? Gone are the days where you can put a leader price and then in the fine print say excludes $8.99 dock fee, excludes $16.99 shipping and everything else. And also,
Right.
by the way, pre-installed accessories, low jack and tinted windows that are $5.99 each. You have to make sure that the price that is the most prominent price
Mhm.
is the one that anybody can get. And so that has a lot of implications. That's fees, that's product, pre-installed products, hard ads, the practice of sort of taking the cost of that out of the advertised price, it has to go away. And then the other big area really is in incentives, right? You can't have a number, a top line advertised number that includes incentives that less than 100% of people can qualify for, right? So it's, even if you think 99%, or even if everybody in your state or could qualify it, you can't take it out of the price. In other words, if the car's 50 grand, there's a
Yep.
$2,000 rebate available. You can't say price is 48 unless literally that 2,000 is available to everybody, right?
Yeah, and that's been a big issue, right? We've seen a lot of those pricing is, especially in the advertised pricing, has every sort of rebate listed,
Yeah.
yet only a small fraction of people actually get every one of those incentives or
Yeah,
qualify.
well, yeah, we've always had an issue with what they call rebate stacking, which is putting every
Right.
possible thing that you could get, even if no human being, one person could ever get
Yes,
all of them. That's
exactly.
always been a problem. They've
Yep.
gone a little further here, I would argue, and said that you can't include any rebate in the price unless everybody qualifies for it. Now, to be clear, we have a guide that we put out, by the way. You're welcome to go to our website, and I'm sure there'll be a link we can give you that people can download put an whole 35-page guide together with examples and everything else of how you can still disclose the possibility or the availability of certain rebates. It's just
Yep.
you can't do the math and take it out of the price and suggest anybody can buy it for that price. So look, this is not impossible, but it is definitely a sea change in the way that most dealers advertise their vehicles. Because look, I mean, I get it. You want to be, when somebody comes to your website or when someone looks at one of those inventory listing sites and searches by lowest price or whatever, best deal, quote unquote, whatever it is, you want to be at the top of the search results, right? So everybody wants that top line lower number. And I think, some dealers are going a little too far in bearing fees and costs. They've announced, hey, we're tightening the screws and we're going to, and they said, we're bringing these enforcement actions, and we're bringing more of them if you don't do the right thing. And so,
Yep.
yeah, dealers are paying attention. I am very pleasantly surprised after having been following this for almost 20 years
Sure.
that I see probably more change in the last few months than I've seen in a while. So dealers are responding.
Yeah, they absolutely are, as they should. And, it's always one of those situations too. And and we get the calls too from as an association where we'll have a dealer call us and say, look, I'm doing this the way it's supposed to be done. This guy up the street is doing it
Right.
this other way.
Right.
I'm losing business because of that. It's misrepresented. What do we do? So it can be painful to take that first step
Yeah.
to say, but ultimately, boy, the when you look at that risk reward situation, uh, it's best to do it by the numbers as you're supposed to, versus being caught out there
Yeah.
in a bad situation.
Yeah, look, I get it. We get those calls too, and I feel the pain. I understand. It's very hard if your competitor's out there doing the thing that you've been told you can't do any longer, and you feel you're at a competitive disadvantage. Look, I will say this: dealers, I am eternally optimistic about dealers' ability to overcome any such difficulties. Dealers are awesome. I've
Very
seen all
true.
sorts of creative ways very prominently displaying the fact that their prices include all fees, right? I mean, the reality is, I don't, I think most markets are the same. I'm outside of Washington, D.C. I
Yep.
would say people here are sort of conditioned to expect these fees, right? So it's almost like you go
Right.
shop for a car and you're like, okay, I get it, that's your price, but what is the total with all the fees?
Right. Right. What's
Right.
the out the door?
And what's the out the door, right? And so people are so actually, if you really prominently advertise, in my personal opinion, if you prominently advertise the fact, hey, guess what? Upfront, full, all-in prices, what you see is what you get, and you may qualify for more. Call us for your best deal. Like you can say things like that. You
Sure.
know, that I'm hopeful that there'll be enough consumer response to that the pain is either transitory or minimal, or actually there might be some benefit to the people trying to do it the compliant way. So. I get it. It is hard. I mean, it's always been true that the main source for enforcement actions for advertising violations is other dealers complaining.
Right.
Right. So, the FTC, they had a website with NADA and they were very careful to say, hey, if you want to report somebody, let us know. So, I hope that's not the way we go in our industry.
Right.
I hope we kind of get it right and feel the market pressure, not the the reporting to the FTC pressure. But yeah, look, it's tough. And I will tell, and last thing I'll tell you is this:
Mhm.
it's not only tough from a change perspective, the details are difficult, right? I mean, we've
Yeah.
got 11,000 plus dealers we work with around the country. The different variations of questions we get and scenarios that come up, and what about this, and how do I disclose this? It's not always so black and white as just to say, put it in the price, right? So anyway, and on top of this, the other thing you probably hear a lot of is a lot of the stuff's coming from our OEM friends who put
Right.
this stuff on your website, and so you don't even know, what that. And God bless them. They may try to be compliant, but they often are not, and they certainly don't know the different state law nuances and everything else. And so it can be tough. You feel as a dealer like you're being hammered from all sides, and in the meantime, you're just trying to run your business and advertise and sell cars. So, look, we do have a software solution that we're very proud of. If you're not using Guardian, it's called Guardian. If you're not using it, give us a call, ComplyAuto.com. You can find me. I'm Brad Miller. We'll get you a demo. We actually are running a crazy low price of $75 a month. Uh,
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. And you can analyze ads. We utilize it's software, but it does utilize AI tools,
Okay.
very powerful tools to go scan the BDPs on your website so that and then you get a report of the issues, right? And it's going to stay on top of your inventory to make sure that, I mean, that's the thing that people look at, obviously, or your online
Right.
ads. There are tools on there to do print and to do social media and do all the rest of that stuff. But this, the most popular piece is the VDP scanner because it's really automated. It's AI is doing all this for you. It spits out this big report. So look, we just released the version 2.0 of this software. I'm just a rough sort of guesstimate to give you a sense. We were doing about 500 or 600 checks among all 50 states and federal government. So
Oh, wow.
this
Okay.
looks at now we're approaching 3,000. So we have improved the product to be able to look at things like modals and pop-ups and screens. Dealer websites are very complicated. I mean, there's
Yep.
gonna be 4 or 5 people with, payment quote things that pop up and everything else. We've addressed all those challenges, and version 2.0 at the same price is available right now to dealers. So we encourage you to take a look at it. Look, it's not a it's a tool. It's a
Right.
really awesome, powerful tool, but it's just going to tell you what you need to do. There is going to be a little bit of a change. GMs have to buy in. People at the dealership have to buy in because it's not going to make you change the way you do it. It's just going to highlight it for you if you want. So
Well, and you raise a good point. Look, I remember, and I think it's still very much this way. Back when I was in retail as the sales manager or used car managers, those are the folks reviewing these ads and saying it's good to go.
yeah,
So, do you really want to leave that the chance with your managers who are working tirelessly throughout the day, constantly going from situation to situation to situation, sale to sale to sale, and you're going to also put the burden on them to ensure that everything they're signing off on is 100% compliant, doing it the right way, and all these things. When you have a tool like this that you can utilize, put that stuff through that give you that peace of mind, because at the end of the day, maybe it is that sales manager, general sales manager, or general manager that's approving these things. As the dealer whose name is on the building, ultimately, any missteps or mistakes there is the dealer responsibility.
oh yeah, yeah, and look, it's funny. We've been offering this product long enough that we track how the things it spots go over time, and you hope to see the
Yep.
line go down, and we do see it goes down, and then all of a sudden it'll pop up. You get a new sales manager or a used car manager who
Yep.
goes rogue and starts putting some. We guarantee financing to everybody, or they put some stuff in the ads, or you have some template on their website that changes and messes things up. So it's a bit of a constant struggle, although over time you really can see some benefits. Look, we've had a number of folks look at this product. I can tell you one last thing about it is just to sort of tout from a political perspective, and you'll get this, Jason, is
Yep.
the state regulators in particular, and hopefully the federal regulators too. I think sometimes they think dealers like it's just the Wild West and dealers don't really care. They don't really do anything about this. They just sort of
Right.
they go willy-nilly. The fact that they even see that this kind of tool exists is has changed. I mean, the tone of the conversation changes. They're like, wow, we didn't know this was available, right?
Right.
I mean, obviously, it's not there's no guarantee of that you won't have a problem, but it's changed the tone among certainly the state regulators, just to know the dealers are because look, they're rational people. If you come and say,
Sure.
look, I have 3,000 vehicles in inventory, I can't physically look at all of them to know I'm doing my best, right?
Right.
And I have this tool that the thing AI is good at is lots of detailed analysis of lots of volume very quickly, right? And that's what this does. And so anyway, it's look, whether you use Guardian or whether you use human beings, I mean, we want you to buy our software, don't get me wrong. But it's the important thing is that you understand. I mean, I talked to a
Yep.
dealer the other day, I had no idea this FTC stuff was going on, right? I mean, your head's down, you're trying to do business. I get it.
Yep.
Please know this is a big deal. I mean, it's hard with the noise sometimes, I think, to know,
Yeah.
everybody's trying to tell me this is a big thing. You got to worry about this and this and this. Stop and take a breath. This is one to focus on because I think I just don't want any more dealers to be caught in the crosshairs on this one.
Now, and look, with as many things happening in our industry that are out of our control, when you have something that you can actually have the benefit of having some control of, right? You can actually take this very complex issue, use a tool like this to, okay, this is a huge assist in in the dealer managing this process versus again just that overwhelming of all the things we have to deal with on a daily basis, whether it's dealing with tariffs, the banks, consumers, CSI scores, anything that comes across the dealer's desk. My gosh, take a demo, take a look at this. And folks, this is why we really wanted to bring this to you all because, again, ComplyAuto has been a trusted partner of ours from really early on. Kentucky was one of the early states to partner with ComplyAuto as we navigate this, what can be a very complex field regarding compliance. And we wanted to make sure we were offering you all the tools that can help you, work through these items. So So, Brad, we're going to be happy to share this with all of our folks. And also, I want to make mention, Brad will be at our convention here in a few weeks in Nemacolin. So if you haven't registered yet or got your room, please get that done right away. But Brad's also going to be sharing some the latest items that they're seeing and dealing with. So It's going to be even more good information there. But I encourage you to give this a look, take a demo, and at the very least, it'll let you know sort of where you stand in your dealership. Hey, are we on the right path and handling this properly, or do we need some more help?
Yeah. Look, reach out anytime. We've been very busy with Guardian recently, obviously, but we are working with tons of dealers around the country, and look, I always end by telling you this: these enforcement actions. There's two things they have to. I mean, you have to be compliant with everything. I don't want to minimize anything, but there's two things the FTC is looking at, really. They're looking at the price advertising and they're looking at your F&I practices. Okay. So I just encourage folks. I mean, I think the benefit of this is we get everybody putting all the fees in the price. Everybody's competing on the same level playing field. I think once we get through this pain and the transition period, hopefully it'll be a net positive for everybody. I get it. But don't forget the F&I side of things. We see a lot. We have another product called Deal Check that we look at deal jackets. We're auditing deal jacket audits all the time, deal jackets all the time. And I mean, these big enforcement actions against dealers, it starts in the advertising side, but then they go and start looking at the deals and they start hearing the customer complaints on the F&I side. And that's where I think the next, I don't know if it's a blind spot. I mean, it's been something, again, just something it's whack-a-mole. I get it. Let's address the advertising issues first because that's where the focus is. But don't forget that that's kind of where it starts, and then the F&I office really is where the regulators go to town and the numbers sort of add up. So anyway, I feel like I'm a downer here. I'm not trying to be. I'm optimistic. I think dealers are gonna get through this very easily. I think they're gonna make lemonades out of lemons because I think that this is going to be a positive from a consumer perspective. It's going to help the dealer franchise model make it look better overall. I think it's going to be good for dealers once we get through this sort of intermediate period. And
that's a great point, and I agree with that 100%. In that we have an opportunity to really turn this into a net positive. In that, hey, we're about disclosure. We're about ensuring that everybody understands what they're getting into in this transaction, and frankly, if we're doing those things, to your point, Brad, that's better for the industry as a whole, the franchise system as a whole, and happy consumers mean more sales, and again, just better for everybody. So I appreciate you taking some time with us today, explaining what ComplyAuto is up to. Guardian 2.0, folks, check it out. It's worth your time. Take a demo, learn more about this product, and give us some feedback too. We'd like to hear back from our folks that are working with our partners and let us know what they think about it. So again, Brad, thanks for joining us. We will see you in a few weeks at the KADA annual convention, and that will conclude today's edition of Kentucky Horsepower, the official podcast of KADA. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you down the road.